Hey guys, over on my Instagram, I had a poll a while back ago for what videos to upload, and this was one of them that you guys have been asking for. So if you guys are interested in how to go about this service from filling platinum hair to a more red copper tone, then keep watching. You guys can get in on my polls by following me on Instagram at Christy at the Cottage.
Okay, so my client that I'm doing right now is, she does like fantasy colors. So she's kind of faded and she's blonde. And so we're going to have to fill her hair because she wants to go ginger red. And so to start her service, I'm going to be using the Matrix Color Sync. And to start filling her hair, I'm going to use ARC. I thought she wanted to be more like level 6, but she doesn't. The picture that she showed me is very like 7, 8. So I'm gonna start with 8RC to fill her first, and then after that, I'm going to be putting in actually maybe like a little bit of a level 7 in there also to fill her a little bit more. So where are we? So I'm also going to add 7RR to her formulation. Okay.
Okay, here's my client's before. You can kind of see some of those blue undertones that's in her hair, and she does have a little bit of a natural root, and she said she didn't want to lighten her hair, so we're just going to apply over it and just know that it will probably blend with her roots pretty good. So I was kind of shocked when her hair that she showed me the picture, it was really like a really soft strawberry blonde, but I kind of explained to her that to fill the hair we have to like start at like a level 9, 8. Like if we do a level 9, it's just gonna wash out. It's barely gonna tint the hair a golden color, so we have to go a little bit deeper than that. So we started with like the level 8, and I probably did 3/4 of the formulation, the level 8, and then I only added maybe a quarter of the formulation, the level 7, because I wanted to make sure that we had a little bit more depth in the color, because I feel like when you're doing reds, it's really easy for the color to come out hollow if there's not enough depth in the formulation. So or it's just going to fade out really fast, either or. So if somebody wants their hair to be a little bit lighter of like a level 8, 9 strawberry blonde, then they really need to know that there's not that much filling that you can do at that point. So just expect the hair to fade out pretty fast, unless somebody knows better than me. I don't know. But in my experience, if you have to fill the hair at the same level as what the client wants to be at, then you really have to layer the color in there, and that makes it kind of difficult for it to have depth or for it to not feel hollow or translucent. So I kind of explained that to her, that she's either going to lose her color really fast if we stay too light, or we can go a little bit deeper of a color and hopefully she'll have more depth to her copper and red tone and go a little bit darker. And she was more okay with going darker and understanding that it was still going to fade. It's still going to fade, but just not as easily. Okay, as you guys could see, I was just going through and applying at her root to start. And that's because with blonde being so porous, I didn't want to run it through the ends to start, because then it could potentially grab very, very dark. And so I just wanted to hit her roots, let that start processing. And then now that I'm at the ends of the hair, I'm going to start working my way back up. And now I'm going to start combing through and reapplying and making sure it's heavily saturated through the ends of the hair. And the reason why I'm combing it through is because I feel like I see some people where they're applying through the ends and they just kind of like mush their hands together, and they're not really making sure that they're combing through the hair and making sure it's evenly saturated. And the problem when you just like mush the hands together or with the hair together is that the hair kind of ropes together in pieces. Like you can try to separate it with your hands, but chances are that sometimes it's gonna just stick together in some areas. So I feel like always going through with a comb is the best way to make sure that you're not gonna get any splotchiness in the hair application or getting any pieces where, what is it called? Like cheetah marks in the hair because it wasn't saturated enough or applied good enough to where you got all those spots and combed through the hair, whatever. So this is why I always comb through the hair to make sure that I'm preventing any of those like splotchinesses from happening. Look at this right now. Look at this bowl sweep. That means that I literally ran out of color as I was applying this last little section. And that is like a gift from God when you perfectly mix up the right amount of color for your service application. There is nothing more than a son of a bitch when you have to dump some bleach or some color, or you have to keep going back and remixing like the smallest little drop of color to finish like two little sections. So thank you, Lord, for having me properly mix this bowl of little color to fill her hair. Okay, so this is after she processed for about 20 minutes with our first filler application, and you can kind of see that it's a little bit hollow. So I'm going through with our second application, and I didn't record this because I was doing her mom service in between, so I lost track of being able to like record the mixing and formulation and all of that stuff. So for this service application right now, I'm just going through with the 7RR from the Color Sync and applying this and hoping that this will help fill her hair and grab a little bit more, but actually it didn't. I had to go through with a third formulation, and I will go over that at the very end of the video once you see the end result. But I just want to share with you guys, sorry that I didn't mix and record that part of the service. So just watch the end and I will explain my third application and why I had to go over that. So this part of it sat for like another 20 minutes, and here we are back to her before, and then this is the after. I'm so happy that I had to go through with a third application. Sometimes you just have to do more work than what you think you're going to, but I'm glad that I took the time to do a third application. And keep watching the video because I'm going to go over what I ended up using. I don't think I will use Color Sync again because it's just so hollow and translucent, and I don't feel like it has the depth of the color that I need to fill the hair. So I'm going to get into that stuff right now. Okay, so I just finished my client, and I kind of had to do like 3 different processes with the hair, and I'm not sure if I got the last one, but after the second step of the service, her hair still looked, it didn't necessarily look muddy, but it definitely looked very like not what I was hoping it would be. And I thought for how much like red and copper that I put in her hair, like I really thought that it was going to be enough, but it clearly wasn't. And another thing about that too is I think it's because of the color line that I used. I used the Matrix Color Sync, and sometimes I feel like their colors are so translucent and like super dull that I feel like the pigment just isn't really there and it's not able to fill the hair, excuse me, as well as I would hope it would be. So I ended up going back through with Schwarzkopf Agora Vibrance 777, and that really helped her hair. Like it really brightened it up. It made it look a little bit more vibrant, and I felt like it kind of filled those ends in a little bit more and gave them a little bit more life. The color definitely looked a lot better. It looked more rich, and like the color had some depth to it, where before it just looked kind of like muddy and not very good. So I think if I would do anything different with this color service, I feel like I would go in with Agora Vibrance and fill the hair that way. So she was happy with the color when we were done, but it's just like a learning experience with what do you use, what works best. And I definitely feel like, I don't know, like I'm just not a big fan of the Matrix Color Sync. That's what I've used in all the different
like Regis Corporation salons. That's what we used, and I think it's because it's like cheapest or whatever. And I just feel like the color just doesn't hold well. Like it's very translucent and doesn't have much life to it. Like all of their reds turn almost like a purple brown red, if you know what I mean. Like there's, even if you want like a really pretty like copper red, I feel like it still goes very purple or very like red or whatever. Whereas the Schwarzkopf, it has a very true, very, very copper tone. So I really prefer that. So I don't know that I showed it or not. So after the 2 steps, the very last one that I went through was the Schwarzkopf 777. And that did a really, really good job. And I almost wish I would have just like filled the hair with that. I feel like if I would have added like a level 8 copper 777, I feel like if I would have just filled the hair with that from the beginning, like it probably would have just solved all my problems. But one thing that Lisa Loves Balayage on Instagram always talks about is that when you're like coloring over blonde hair, that blonde hair accepts ash and like rejects warmth. So sometimes when you're doing over blonde, like you have to do even more gold or more copper than probably what you want. And I think that's kind of like where I went wrong, is that I didn't put enough copper and like straight gold, straight copper in my formulation. I did more like copper gold or copper red or whatever. And I feel like if I would have just gone through with the copper, I feel like it would have done well. So adding more and more copper, I feel like would help the hair. Like if it's gonna reject any warmth, probably like the more vibrant coppery tones, the better. So learn from my mistake. If you're gonna fill the hair, just use the Schwarzkopf. That does such a good job. It has a nice depth to the color. It's not like translucent or anything. It really fills the hair nicely. So, yeah, that's that. And I hope you guys like the video. I know this, I don't know, blonde to red. Hopefully you liked it. So, I guess I will see you next time.